It
Okay.
on the phone, it looks almost like if Periscope was still a thing. It's just part of Twitter now. We're live in more places. Look, I even see you.
I know. You see me.
I see you. Yeah.
I see me too.
Yeah,
That's
it's
amazing.
interesting. I like the concept of us being live in more places, so more and more people can be part of the recording of this show. You know, they can see us doing it live, even though the vast majority of people who engage with the show are, I don't know, podcasts later on.
No, I don't think that the chat bot is working because
it probably doesn't work with it.
Okay. Because I tried and I'm not seeing my chat.
I'll look into it later. Maybe there's something about the settings.
Yeah. But I see me too.
Yeah. But in the meantime, hey, we're live, and welcome to the Vomitorium Weekday show for the 1st of October, 2021. As the kiddos like to call it, Happy Spooky Month. As always, I am your host, The Metal, and joining me is my co-host, Marsupial Gamer. How you doing?
Pretty good. Pretty good.
I don't like this spooky month shit. Right? I kind of like Halloween. Yeah. I like my traditional Irish holiday of Samhain better, but Halloween's still a cool knockoff of it. The problem is this it's even my kind of generation that started too. This millennial Gen Z spooky month crap is getting just as annoying as the boomer extending Christmas to forever crap.
Yeah. They've taken it too far, I think.
Let's instead of fighting over which holiday is better and which one you want to extend, let's just drag them both back. I'll give you the whole week. Festivals can be a week. 3 days to a week is fine. I'm still more in favor of Halloween being a 3-day festival like it was back in Ireland, but still a week is fine. No more. We'll just have it. Christmas can have a week. It'll be like Hanukkah and stuff, Festival of Lights. Halloween can have a week. Thanksgiving can still have a time in between. We'll all be set.
Yeah, everyone forgets about Thanksgiving. It's my favorite.
I don't like Thanksgiving. Mostly that's just a personal thing due to Thanksgiving's a very family holiday, and I have a very aggressive family. But like, I respect a lot of people like Thanksgiving, and they need their time too.
Yeah. Well, I agree. It's not Halloween. It's October.
Yeah.
Halloween isn't for another 4 weeks. So
yep, it is the 8th month of the year. Oh wait, no, sorry, an emperor pushed it back to the 10th. Just so he could have a holiday, a month named after himself.
Didn't 2 of them, Julius and Augustus?
Yeah, there's 2 added months in there. This used to be the name of the 8th month.
I know. And that's why July and August have 31 days. They have to be longer.
Just so everything rounds out properly.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well.
And they stole it all from February.
Frickin' September, too, got equally fucked.
Yeah.
And December.
Well.
Because the last months were literally just 8, 9, and 10, and then now they're not.
Makes no sense anymore.
No. Blame selfish emperors. That's
January through June were named after the Roman gods, right?
Yeah. Damn Romans.
Anyway.
Yeah. Speaking of other things that typically have a lot to do with mythology and gods, Strangers of Paradise, Final Fantasy Origins just got a new trailer drop today at the Tokyo Game Show. And oh boy, if you personally could not tell from how much I was going off about it in the pre-show, I am excited. I am excited.
I could tell. Yeah.
So
I don't think anyone else could tell, but I could. Yes.
This picks us back up with our buddy Jack and his cohorts running around, and I don't know, man. I think I think Square was trying to gaslight us a little bit or something. Something with that first trailer and demo.
Well,
Because
I guess it was just a teaser.
it was a teaser, but like it completely gave us a different perception of what the game was going to be from that initial trailer and demo. Because it only took place in the Temple of Fiends, or the Shrine of Chaos, and it looks huge, so that dungeon still looks like it's going to be a pretty hefty dungeon, even for your first encounter with Garland.
Yeah.
Which it's only a hefty dungeon at the end of the game, which you are in there for like a good hour, even at like a good pace. But this one looks like you're going to have to actually make it to Garland. You're not just going to be walking straight for 5 steps until you get into his chamber. But it made it seem like this was the whole game. Like, oh, it's like a Dark Souls type dungeon, and it's just going to be this huge ass temple that you're traversing. Yeah. No, not at all. That is not the game. It's literally just that dungeon. It looks like it's going to have the whole fucking world A. They were even showing off like the Tiamat fight, which means you're going to go to the freaking Sky Fortress and everything. And that means all the other dungeons are at least going to be in it.
Now, to be fair, Tiamat is also in the Chaos Shrine.
Yes, right? But the way it was a very technological, like advanced dungeon that Tiamat was in, which
so we're pretty sure
flying fortress in the sky was a very technologically advanced place compared to everyone else.
Yeah.
Even at the
it did look like you were roaming the countryside.
Yeah.
And all this stuff, so it looks like
it
is basically a remake of Final Fantasy 1.
Yeah, which helps with Jack's amnesia, because the original game, if you read the manual, the Light Warriors had no idea where they came from. They showed up with amnesia too. All they knew is that they had these darkened crystals in their pockets that they had to light up, and they ended up encountering the king, who sent them on the quest. It's like, well, it seems like the thing we're supposed to be doing, and they go and eventually kill Chaos after lighting up these crystals. And in this trailer, it even showed, once they introduced the 4th Light Warrior, which was also like, they didn't show her off at all in the original teaser, and they only had 3 people. I don't know if she's actually even going to be playable. It might just be those 2 people, but there is at least a 4th Light Warrior there.
Yeah.
And they all have these little round, dark crystal stones. I like that they're round too, since like in the original game, the crystals were the size of orbs and in the shape of them too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't like in some of the remakes, like in Dawn of Souls, they're, whatever, more crystal shaped, I guess.
Yeah, they make them like diamonds instead of the circles. It's like you can have a sphere crystal. A crystal's a type of material. It doesn't have to be in the shape of a diamond. And even Final Fantasy 15 got this. The crystal that they went to was shaped like an egg. And these even kind of seem like little opal egg-shaped carved stones.
Yeah, and they all start out dark.
You're going to go light them up, which is another reason why it seems like it's the full game. With the Tiamat fight in a very technologically advanced place, it seems like you are going to have to go to the temples of each of the fiends and defeat them to be able to light up these crystals again, like you did in the original game. And it already seems like there are time travel shenanigans, just like in the original game, because the trailer ends with Princess Sarah saying, "I never got your name," and Garland holding her's like, "My name is Garland, Jack Garland," and it's like, oh, okay, Jack, what's going on here?
So he's playable?
No,
I don't understand.
Jack's the name of the main character. The blonde-haired dude.
But how does he become Garland?
I don't know.
I don't understand.
Because as far as I know, Jack is Wall, right? He's the Warrior of Light, which is the character that they always pick to represent Final Fantasy 1. Though some games have like tried to say he was the only one who did it. Some of them still have the description that it was 4 Warriors of Light and he's just the representative. They get really confusing. I like that this is very clearly still just 4 Warriors of Light like it's supposed to. And so Jack is Wall in this game. But apparently also Garland is Jack. Or they might share a name. Maybe he's named after a legendary soldier. But like,
maybe Garland is his father. Maybe the evil
Maybe he was named after his father. Who knows? He has amnesia. He doesn't know. He could be Garland out of time. Maybe he's like a version of Garland from like a timeline where he didn't become evil, and now he's set here to make things right. I don't know. We'll find out, and that's what actually interests me in the game, is that there's already like a twist that is very much in line with the way that the games have always been.
Hey, Hickman says, I like to think the round ones are refined crystals and the crystal-shaped ones are raw. Maybe?
Typically, if you have a round crystal anyway, yeah, it is refined. Somebody carved it into that shape.
Yeah.
Unless it's magic, right? Like, these are celestial crystals of some type of weird origin. They could naturally be round because gods made them or something. Cosmos could have made these crystals.
Well, it looks good, and they didn't mention chaos one single time.
No, they kept saying darkness. Like, the first game is like chaos, 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 chaos. This one's just like darkness, darkness, darkness. Garland.
Garland. Jack Garland.
Jack Garland. Man, even retroactively now, I'm always going to refer to him as Jack Garland in every version of the game. They've ruined it for me, but also have made it priceless.
That's right. Apparently, he says, I'm here to collect crystals.
Yeah. Jack Garland. You see, King, the King too. I always call him King Steve, but that's only because the King never had a name, and in 8-bit theater they call him King Steve, so he's King Steve to me. Yeah. You see, King Steve.
Yeah. I'm just looking at some of the other, like the headlines from 4 months ago saying that it looks terrible and all this stuff, but yeah, the new trailer makes it look a lot better.
Yeah, people are still trying to call it a Souls-like game, and I had trouble calling it that in the first place because I'm looking at the combat, and I've played quite a few of the Souls games, and I've played a lot of other things, and I think it's just like, if something remotely looks like a Souls game, people call it a Souls-like now. Even though, like, the hack-and-slash adventure genre has been around for fucking ever. And mechanically, like I was saying, it looks more like a Devil May Cry game than it does Dark Souls.
Well, it looks like they're grabbing creature, like, freezing them and, like, smashing them back and forth until they shatter and stuff like that.
And it actually kind of reminds me of the Mana series, the way, like, the characters are interacting with each other. But that makes sense because the Mana series was, like, Square's first, like, hack-and-slash adventure game. It was just top-down. If you make a Final Fantasy game, and the first Mana game was a Final Fantasy game, and it's a hack-and-slash adventure, obviously my mind is going to go towards, like, The Secret of Mana and shit like that. But, hey, it's multiplayer. Also, speaking of Mana, it's a multiplayer game in the exact same way, where if somebody's already playing a game, I believe it will have, actually, I don't know. They didn't mention if it has couch co-op. It better have couch co-op. But it will definitely have online multiplayer where if somebody's already playing the game, they'll host it as Jack, and somebody else who has the game can hop in and control one of the cohorts running around, one of the other Warriors of Light, which is similar to Secret of Mana, where if you're playing around, you can play as the main character, any of the three, really, whoever you picked, and then somebody else could plug in a controller and control either of the other two children of the Mana tree. And that's cool. I like that. I want to do, like, a full run of the game with a couple other people. That would be cool.
You want me to play the trailer?
You can if you want.
I always like to do that, so people know what the heck we're talking about.
Yeah, dude. I am so fucking excited for this game. You don't even know, man. First, it was ironic. Like, I was ironically excited for this game because, like, it still looked kind of fun, but I hate it when they do shit like this to Final Fantasy games. I really do, on average. But, like, unlike 7, this game doesn't really have a story you can fuck up, like the original Final Fantasy. There's hardly anything there. And they got the important parts down. But, like, the character of Jack is just too cool. The more and more I watch it, like he's an edgelord, but like in the way that like late 90s, early 2000 characters were, he's actually genuinely pretty on par for the course. And this trailer though, with all it shows off, makes me excited for this game in like an unironic way.
Yeah, well, it did look rather lackluster when they were just showing, oh, they're just in this temple, and it looked like it was just a dungeon crawler kind of thing and pretty boring. But now it's showing them roaming around, and
and with him wearing
King
armor,
Steve.
King Steve, him wearing armor and all the other people together, and you even see like Bikke the pirate here. It's like. This feels like a Final Fantasy game. Actually, it feels more like a Final Fantasy game to me, just looking at the trailer, than 15 did the entire time I was playing it, despite also being an action-based game. And it actually also still looks and feels more like a Final Fantasy game than 16 does.
I just noticed that was a cactuar.
Yeah. Which weren't in the original game. It looks like they're dragging in some things from other games just to... make it more Final Fantasy.
Yeah. And they all have the little... Now, who are these two?
I don't know. Ifrit and Shiva, I'm guessing. They weren't in the original game, but who knows what they're adding to this version.
Yeah. Well, that could be cool. I guess it's like a boss fight, it looks like.
Yeah.
She's giving him a hug. That's nice.
Listen, if I had to die from being embraced in Shiva's bosom, that's an okay way to go out, if you ask me.
Yeah, nice. Oh, and then he breaks it.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, obviously, they have to add, like you said, there's nothing to the original Final Fantasy. There's no story to speak of.
Just a sequence of events.
Yeah, so obviously they have to add to it, so... It looks cool. There's Tiamat.
See,
there you go. Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it's very technological. This is the Flying Fortress place.
Clearly, it looks like. That's cool. So now they didn't show Warmech
too. I like that. No, they didn't show Warmech. I'm just saying, like, Warmech is probably going to be like this big Omega, because Warmech was like the prototype for Omega, which is the recurring boss in later series and stuff like that.
Yeah. That was Princess Sarah, right?
Yes, that was Princess Sarah.
And Tiamat talks to you too, so that sounded cool.
Jack Garland.
There's Jack. Why did they give Garland a first name? I don't understand.
Because they already gave Jack a first name. That's the reason.
Well, see, okay, so that was what we were speculating, or I was speculating, like, is Jack Garland, the hero of the story, is he the son of the evil Garland? Or
is he Garland? Is he a good version from another timeline? Because time travel is a thing in the original Final Fantasy.
Yeah. It could be. But I mean, the original story had evil Garland in the present and in the past.
Yeah.
So... there was no tie to the main character.
No, there wasn't, as far as we knew.
So,
but again, who's to say that this isn't Garland from another timeline, right? Like, what if there was a rift that happened? It's a multiversal property, okay? Things like that could happen.
Yeah.
I think people often forget that, like, all the Final Fantasy games are technically tied together, because while they're not in the same world or universe, they are specifically in a joint multiverse where their worlds do interact with each other. And this was something that was intended to be done as early as 4. They kind of dropped it, but they left the references in because the town of Mysidia in 4 was originally, like, in the book that came with the booklet. It was, in the Japanese version, it was said that it was founded by a guy named Ming Wu, who washed up on the shore like 500 years ago. And in 2, Mysidia, there was a man from it named Mindu, which both of those are like English ways of saying the Japanese characters of the same guy, Ming Wu and Mindu. So it's supposed to be like he got lost through the worlds and washed up on shore of the world in 4 and founded a Mycidia there, which was also a town of mages. So like a lot of this interdimensional, universe stuff was planned to be in Final Fantasy from very early on by Sakaguchi. Even like 3 kind of has some of that stuff because there's like 2 different worlds. There's the world of darkness that you don't interact with, but they talk about it because the cloud of darkness came from the void between the worlds and was strong enough that would be able to wipe out both the world of light and world of darkness at the same time. And you have to try to stop this thing. So like, it was always there in Final Fantasy.
And then there's Gilgamesh going on his multiversal journey.
Yeah, it is canon that every time you interact with Gilgamesh, it is the same Gilgamesh.
Yeah.
Which I love. I love that. He's
even
just,
in different games.
Yeah, he's just like falling through the multiverse, just like trying to find tough people to fight because it's Gilgamesh.
And speaking of Gilgamesh, guess where else? Guess where else Gilgamesh is popping up?
Chocobo GP.
Yeah.
Which I completely forgot to talk about, and I'm like slapping myself over because I fucking love Chocobos. And I love Mario Kart, and this is just Mario Kart with Final Fantasy characters. Oh, man, it looks good. It was on the Nintendo Direct. And I guess there was just so much other stuff to talk about when we were covering the Direct that I completely forgot to bring this up.
Yeah, here, let me share my screen again.
Some of the versions of the characters are the versions specific to the Chocobo games. Because people don't realize there are a lot of just like Chocobo fables and Chocobo games. Like there's a Chocobo Mystery Dungeon. There was a Chocobo Racing on the PlayStation. There's a whole lot of Chocobo stuff.
But Gilgamesh features prominently
in the trailer, yeah.
In the trailer, at least.
We also see the Chocobo / Nintendo version of the White Mage in this trailer too. She's driving around in a car with pink hair. Yeah,
no, that was the guy from 9.
Yes, Steiner.
Steiner, yeah, right there. There he is.
I do believe the pink-haired White Mage is supposed to be the one from the original game. That's how they've been treating it. There's Gilgamesh.
Yeah.
Gilgamesh.
The one from what? The original game?
Yes, I believe that's supposed to be, because that's how they usually treat it.
Oh.
There's Vivi.
And there's, Black Mage.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it is Vivi. It says Vivi.
Yeah. We're driving around in the Black Waltz. I love that. Because the Black Waltz is not a reference to 9, but it's also a reference to Kingdom Hearts. Because the little floating Black Mage Heartless that you fight are called Black Waltz in Kingdom Hearts.
Oh, okay.
Which is also, from Kingdom Hearts, it's a reference to Final Fantasy, since they kind of take place in the same multiverse.
Yeah. It looks like there's like a death spell. The kind of
multi-armed Gilgamesh throwing his weapons at people.
Yeah. The death spell looks like the equivalent of the blue shell.
Yeah. At the gold saucer. Which is obviously a Final Fantasy VII reference, but that's been showing up in several games now. Like, you can go to a gold saucer in Final Fantasy XIV.
Yeah. Oh, there's Moogle.
Yep.
Right there. And what the heck is that purple guy?
Behemoth. That looks like a behemoth to me.
Oh, yeah. Interesting.
Might be one of the espers that they were talking about, because you can use Magicite, and like espers are some of the item attacks that will do things in the battle. But basically, it's Mario Kart, but with Final Fantasy, starring a Chocobo.
Exactly. I'm willing to bet they use the exact same code base as Mario Kart
8. Maybe either that or some of it looks very similar to the Sonic Team Racing / Sonic and All Stars Transformed. Which is also a very Mario Kart-like game. But I'm excited. I'm going to, fuck Mario Kart. I'm just going to play this game from now on.
Yeah, it looks awesome. I mean, I like Mario Kart. But...
Yeah, I mean, Mario Kart is Link and, like, the villager from Animal Crossing and stuff like that. And, you know, a bunch of Mario characters. But anybody who knows me knows how obsessed I am with chocobos, particularly. Like, it's cool to have all these other characters in the game. I don't know if I'm ever going to play as anyone but the chocobo. It looks like there's red chocobo. I'm assuming, I haven't seen it, black chocobo is probably also going to be unlocked because there's a whole bunch of different color chocobos.
Yeah. Wait. I think I saw something. Wait.
Did you see something?
Where's my cursor?
I don't know. It was probably eaten.
There we go. Okay. Hold on. It's coming up. Yeah, there's like a death spell kind of thing.
I see a mandrake in the background.
There. What is this?
Could
that be a black chocobo?
Could be a black. It looks like a. It's white. It looks like a mecha chocobo.
Yeah, interesting. Only showed it from behind.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm trying to remember if there was a Robo Chocobo in any of the Chocobo games. It's been a while since I've played some of them. Kind of want to go back. It's pretty easy to emulate and just play the Chocobo racing game on the PlayStation.
Oh, yeah. Was that on PlayStation 1?
Yes, it was on the original PlayStation.
Oh, yeah.
I think that was the last time they've done a racing game with Chocobos.
Okay, wait. Who is that? Who is this guy with the mustache?
I don't know, Sid.
Sid?
It could be a Sid.
Could be. Interesting.
Sitting here dissecting Chocobo racing.
I know. Let's EFAP this sucker.
Yeah.
Every frame.
A pause.
So yeah, I mean, I think I saw some other. Come on. It's hard to tell. All you can see is sort of that Sid character.
I wonder if the red Chocobo is the main one's girlfriend. I mean, it'd be nice if he had one.
Yeah.
Be happy for the little guy.
Yeah. Well, when you said you mentioned it earlier in the Discord, and I thought you were saying that you did not like the looks of it.
No, that was an accepted. Like, fuck you, Mario Kart Final Fantasy, let's go.
That's right. All right. Let's stop that stream there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool beans.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm looking at it's like, man, I don't need fucking anything else. I mean, there's some games I was looking forward to, like Kirby and stuff like that, but between getting a Final Fantasy racing game and an open world adventure remake of the original Final Fantasy, I think I'm just kind of like set on games for the next year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, Breath of the Wild 2, but it's Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
I'll be honest.
Well,
I would be less less like on this train of like I only need these games if I didn't know that Breath of the Wild 2 is going to have the same freaking weapon breaking mechanics as the first one.
Oh.
Yeah. It's like I wanna be hyped for that game so much because there's so much cool stuff that we saw in the trailer. But then I'm just gonna remember it's like, my weapons are gonna be breaking on me all the time. It's gonna make me not want to fight people.
What was I gonna say about that? Yeah, we don't know what it just said 2022. So for all we know,
could be the end of the year or whatever.
Could be December, yeah.
I think it's gonna be pretty early from what I was reading. Let me double check. I had it somewhere. Because I also got an email, though I probably already... Oh, I didn't trash it, though. Like, it should still be in the trash. But I got an email from Square today talking about Chocobo Racing, and that's why it reminded me. Oh my god, stop talking.
The stage is set.
The trailer page was the last one that I had up, and it just decided to refresh out of nowhere. Here, I'm gonna go to my email and check to see if it said it in there. I get all the Square newsletters when stuff like this happens because I'm signed up to like the Portal app and stuff like that. Let's see, where's my trash? Oh, you know what else I got up is, which I should probably close this in case that decides to start playing. Stan did it again, talking about Final Fantasy Origins. Remember how last time when the trailer dropped within the same day, like an hour later, he made a an AMV, all old school style with the 4:3 of Bodies by Drowning Pool to the frickin' Strangers of Paradise trailer? Well, he did it again with the new one, and he did Numb by Linkin Park. And the thing that got me so much is not only was it just as well made with the timing and everything, there was an unregistered Hypercam 2 kind of like band put in the top corner. I'm like, oh, is it really 2006 all over again?
I think he tweeted it out. He said something like, please be sure to put it in 240p for the full experience or something.
Just like the last one, that's always.
Yeah.
Okay, I pulled it up. Yeah, it's still just 2022. They haven't given a date yet. So it could be at the end. We know Strangers in Paradise, I think they actually gave a date on. That's coming early, I think. Or mid. Yeah, okay, so mid-year is what they're looking at. We can get an actual date, just a time zone. So, I'll still be playing Kirby, maybe some Zelda, because they're going to be at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
I'll need something to fill the hole until I can get to my Final Fantasy.
Did you see this thing about dungeon encounters? Coming out in 2 weeks?
Dungeon encounters?
It's a game Square Enix has announced. Just today announced a game called Dungeon Encounters.
No,
it's coming out in 2 weeks,
and
it's directed. Yeah, it's directed by Hiroyuki Ito.
Okay, I like Ito. He's pretty
directed
good.
Final Fantasy 6 and 9 and 12.
Yeah. Ito was really, really close to Sakaguchi. Like he was like an assistant director before he directed 6.
Yeah, apparently he created the active time battle system.
Yeah, I like Ito. He's one of those people that I think knows what Final Fantasy is actually supposed to be about. Oh, cool. I found an article too. It's a minimalist RPG for Final Fantasy veterans. I think I would probably actually really enjoy this.
It looks weird. It's a little bit weird. It's you walk around a board trying
almost
to fill
like
out these squares.
Looking thing.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. But then there's encounters, and I guess you're trying to fill out the entire board or something. Looks weird. and the battles look. The battles are very minimalistic. Like it just shows like a portrait of the characters with hit points, and that's it.
You know what? I'm fine with that though, because I've told you plenty of times too. I don't really give a shit about graphics. It's not really a selling point for me in most games, unless like graphics are part of the core mechanic of the game. Like Pokemon Snap is a game about taking pictures. It needs to look good, right? When you're playing like a new version of that. But most games don't need it. Do I think like if any game genre should be cinematic? Because I'm sure you hate it too, like that buzzword when people are like, oh, we're just trying to make our game cinematic, and then it turns out to be a walking simulator that looks really pretty. If any game genre should use cinematic events and sequences, it should be a turn-based RPG, because that's a way of taking an old format and spicing it up. But I don't need it. I just need the actual game mechanics to be good. If I just see a fucking still picture there with hit points, and I'm still allowed to like pick a menu command to tell me how I'm killing it, I'm pretty happy with that. I play tabletop RPGs where most of it's theater of the mind. Like, this bothers me.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. It doesn't... Yeah, it looks more like a card game, right?
Yeah.
It looks like you got like the cards of your characters and the cards of the enemies, and they just kind of,
And you dimension the dice.
That's right.
Yeah.
And then you select attacks and that sort of thing. But, it looks like an interesting... It's a strategy game.
That's all it is. It's Yu-Gi-Oh! Dungeon Dice monsters with Final Fantasy.
That's right.
I'm not against it. I'm sure we'll see more of it later on, because this is like the initial trailer for the Tokyo Game Show. But I'll keep my eye on it. Again, Ito's a guy I like. Much like
Yeah,
Sakaguchi, if he makes something, I'm going to be paying attention to it.
Well, it's coming out October 14th, which is Thursday.
Oh,
2
wow,
weeks.
that's really close. It's a fortnight.
Yeah. Yep.
So we'll definitely get to see. Like, I'm definitely not going to be able to purchase it by then because I've got other things that I want to buy or need to do. But that means I'll be able to find out whether I'm actually interested in it or not really, really soon.
Mm-hmm. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I didn't even see that. Thanks for bringing that up.
What was it called again? Dungeon Encounters?
Yeah. So it's kind of like playing a turn-based RPG where you're just walking around like a dungeon, right? It's got the squares and everything.
Yeah.
And there's random encounters.
Yep.
I don't see what more you could want from a game.
Very descriptive name, Dungeon Encounters. There's a dungeon and there's encounters. There you go.
It's like Dungeons and Dragons, right? Like,
Brilliant.
You'd be really upset if at some point in time you didn't end up fighting a dragon in a dungeon.
That's right. Preferably, yes.
I've actually played entire like campaigns of Dungeons and Dragons where people have made it, and at no point in time did we ever go into a dungeon and fight a dragon. And I'm just like, listen, man, I know it's your homebrew campaign, but like, you look at the name.
Yeah. Well, you could have a campaign that's, all above ground and...
You can have an above ground dungeon.
Well, yeah, you can have like a tower.
Yeah. And like, it's a horror campaign. We're fighting undeads. You could have like a freaking bone dragon. Like, come on, be creative.
Yeah, well, and I know I always talk about it. We're never going to end up playing it, but Shadow of the Demon Lord, the first game I ever played of that, was all undead stuff, and we went on a little dungeon crawl and fought a bunch of crazy, shambling mounds of undead grossness and stuff like that.
Did you, at any point in time, encounter something that was within the shadow of the Demon Lord?
No. I don't. Well, I guess we were always in the shadow. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't quite. We didn't get to the Demon Lord. I mean,
Well, I mean, you don't have to. You're in the shadow of the Demon Lord, right? So you don't actually have to encounter him the first time. But like, was it all just like pointless stuff, or were you actually on the main quest where it was like the servants of the Demon Lord or something?
Yeah, I don't remember. I don't remember. I think it was a starter campaign, so I don't think it had much to do with the main. I mean, probably did if we kept going, but it was just a one-time thing.
This is why the original Final Fantasy is such a good campaign. When you look at it, you could break that down as like a D&D campaign, because the very, very first thing you do in the game, as kind of like a little prologue tutorial thing, is you go straight to actually what you don't know yet is the final dungeon of the game, and you fight what you also don't know yet is the final boss of the game, just in like a weaker form. That's your main plot right there. You did a lesser version of it, and then you go and do like a several hour long version of it afterwards.
Yeah.
Perfect breakdown of a campaign.
Yeah, I mean the very first thing you do is like a little mini microcosm of the whole game where you go and feed him and get the bridge repaired.
And that bridge,
and then the credits
to the rest of the world. Yes. Well, not the credits. The
opening.
The opening rolls. The actual
intro
to the game. The prologue.
Yeah.
It's actually why the song is called Final Fantasy, because it's the main theme of Final Fantasy. But if you actually look at it, the original listing of the name was just the word prologue, right? So like the title screen is called Prelude because you hear it as a prelude before starting up. And then the actual theme of Final Fantasy was played when the prologue of the game was being put out, after the prologue quest was done. Old games were pretty just straightforward about naming shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, what's this song? Town theme. It's the theme that plays when you're in town. What's this one? Menu theme. It's the theme that plays when the menu pops up. This one? Shop theme.
That's right. Pretty simple. So did you see the news about Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl?
Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl. I saw that Korra's in it, and she's a Shoto fighter.
Mm-hmm. And Ong.
Yeah,
whatever.
Aang.
Aang.
Aang's gameplay looks more dynamic. Korra literally just looked like she's Ryu or Ken.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she's a Shoto fighter. She's just freaking Ryu from Street Fighter. With water attacks for like her melee stuff and throwing fireballs at people. That's all she is.
I didn't know that. I guess, what is it? Last Airbender. Is that a Nickelodeon property?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I saw Reptar. Reptar was announced in the initial video, Eagle. Like, in the very first reveal, Reptar was in it. He's kind of like the Bowser, I guess, of this game.
What is Reptar? Is that something from...
Reptar is from
Avatar?
Rugrats. He's the Godzilla.
Oh, okay.
Reptar's great. I love Reptar. And I'm glad they picked Reptar too, because it would be very awkward to play as a baby in this fighting game. Like, you'd feel bad for Tommy Pickles getting the shit beat out of him by some of these other characters. But Reptar, he's a king of monsters.
Yeah. Well, did you know that this game is coming out in 4 days?
Yes, I did know. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get it very soon. I do want to play it, though.
I'm not particularly interested, but I'm sure a lot of people will be streaming it.
April O'Neil, though. April O'Neil. Not just any April O'Neil. Busty April O'Neil. The good one. The old one.
The good one.
I don't know if you've seen her model. They actually made her pretty stacked. It's like, oh, that looks exactly like April.
Yeah. I've seen it.
Yeah. How can you not want that game?
Eagle talking about the Rat Wizard. It's an above ground tower sewer.
You wouldn't want to put a sewer above ground, unless I guess if you were in a flying city. But then I'd feel really bad for like anyone who lives below the flying city.
Yeah.
But a flying city has to have some type of septic system.
Yeah, you'd think they'd have to recycle it right up there. They couldn't just like drop it down below them, because then they'd run out of water eventually, wouldn't they?
No, they collect rainwater.
Okay.
As long as you're still below the rain clouds when flying, you're fine.
Yeah.
Right. Now, if you're above the rain clouds, maybe you or what if you're right next to clouds and you've got some type of like hydrogen extraction system where like you suck the clouds in.
Can you imagine? Like every time, like there's a floating city on your planet, and every time it floats above you, you're like, "Oh no, it's the sewer!" They're just like dropping sewage.
Like everybody just carries parasols with them all the time, just in case.
That's right. Oh, it's a floating city day.
Yeah.
Watch out.
Well, I would assume floating cities though would be mostly stationary. I don't think they'd actually be drifting around or whatever, right? They'd probably be within like a certain area, and unless like I guess
could
there
be
could
like
be
the floating
slums beneath them. I would assume most people wouldn't want to live below a floating city.
Yeah, could be like that floating tree in Final Fantasy V.
Don't trust.
Wasn't there like a floating tree above the desert?
Trees want to kill you.
I know that.
Yeah.
Well, maybe it just would float above the ocean or something. Just dump everything in there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that would be the best place to have a floating city, is above an ocean.
Yeah. Maybe they'd have tubes that would go down into the ocean and suck water up and desalinate them. And I don't know.
Probably not. I think again. Atmospheric water, either they're below the rain clouds and they can collect rainwater, or they can actually just like suck clouds in and condense it into normal water. I think that'd be the option, because rainwater stuff that's already filtered. It's fresh.
Yeah. Unless it's polluted, and then you've got acid rain or whatever.
Yeah. Less likely to happen over the sea, though.
Although, yeah, I guess the way acid rain works is it's still like distilled water in the clouds, and then it picks up
like the smog and all that shit.
The stuff as it's falling down. So yeah, if they catch it before then. Eagle's talking about flowing the sewers into a prison.
Yeah, don't listen to him. He's just trying to make you think about things you don't need to be thinking about.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Yeah. Floating cities. The only time I could think a floating city could work is A, if it was floating directly on water. Like a man-made island. That could work. Or B...
You're talking about like how Venus. It would float?
Yeah. Well, just like as a practical city, right? Yeah. Or B, Venus, because you can make like a lighter than air city that floats between the layers, because their atmosphere is so thick it's almost like they have two atmospheres. There's like a lower layer and an upper layer, and the upper layer is not as different from ours as the lower layer. Once you go down into it, it's super pressure, super hot, stuff like that. You could actually float like a cloud city on like the inner layer, just like on top of it.
Of course, the clouds on Venus are made of sulfuric acid, so
yeah, that's fine. You just make it of the right material. The sulfuric acid doesn't just eat through everything. Yeah.
Boomers and their dreams of floating cities.
Yeah, who wants a floating city, honestly?
I don't know.
Again, like a cloud city would be great for Venus, because Venus is slightly closer than Mars. I mean, it takes like half the time to get there on average. Mm-hmm. That like we could easily colonize Venus with cloud cities. Nobody wants to do it though, because people have this obsession with placing flags on things.
How did we get on this topic anyway? I don't even remember.
Final Fantasy had a floating city.
It did? Well, it had the original, yeah.
Yeah. 3 had an entire floating continent.
That's right.
Yeah.
And then, Twilight Princess had a floating city.
Yeah, it seems like Breath of the Wild 2 might as well.
There's lots of floating stuff.
Skyward Sword had a floating city.
Did it?
Yeah, the island.
Of course.
The main island that you were in was floating.
Yeah. Of course it did.
Sonic has floating everything. I mean, have you seen Mobius? Like the way the area is like built. There's like islands. There's all kinds of floating stuff in Mobius. Yeah.
Metal is good at getting back on topic. Is he though?
Well, if the topic's Final Fantasy.
That's right.
Depends what the topic is. Plus, the Tokyo Game Show is going on today. Not a lot of good announcements other than the ones that we already talked about. Like, again, we got the Nick All-Star Brawl stuff is cool, but it's just Avatar The Last Airbender related. Mm-hmm. Which, don't get me wrong, it's a good show. Not exactly my cup of tea, but I did watch, like... I think maybe I missed half of the final season, but I watched the final episode. I caught most of Avatar The Last Airbender. I could tell you the story of it. Mm-hmm. But still, it's just not my cup of tea.
Why are they talking about Black Friday deals? It's not even... That's 2 months away, for God's sake.
Oh, because October starts the holiday season in most people's minds.
Oh, Jesus.
So now they start talking about those things.
Yeah, seeing all these stories about all the things that are going to be available on Black Friday. I'm like... That's ridiculous.
Black Friday can suck a dick.
That's like 7 weeks away.
I don't even want to hear about Black Friday the week of Black Friday. I don't want to hear the day of Black Friday. It's a shitty ass holiday that rips people off.
We already talked about how we don't even want to hear about Halloween for at least another 2 weeks or 3 weeks.
Let alone something that's like 2 months away.
Oh, Eagle has a good question.
Yes.
What is this Squid Game show I've heard about? Have you seen it?
I've vaguely heard of it. Everybody's talking about it.
Yeah, I watched it. I watched it from beginning to end.
Break it down.
It's I think it's a South Korean miniseries. I don't quite understand what the point of it is, but it's kind of pointless. But basically, it's some secret society rounds up people to compete in these games. They're like children's games, but they're all deadly. So if you lose one of the games, you die. And they round up they start out with I think 465 people or something like that. And by the end, there's only one. So it goes through all these, it starts with red light, green light, where basically there's this, red light, green light. There you go. There's this robot that's shaped like a little girl, and she turns her head away, and she says green light, and everyone moves, and then she turns her head back and says red light, and if anybody moves a muscle, they get shot. So the first episode is pretty brutal because you're starting with 465 or whatever, and most of the people don't make it past the first day. Mm-hmm. We'll just put it that way.
So this is kind of like another Hunger Games type thing where it's like
kind of
the premise is probably that it's good for society that we do this,
Yeah. Well, all the people you find out pretty early on, and I realize I'm maybe spoiling like the first episode, but I won't get beyond that. But you find out pretty early on that all of the people that they rounded up are like deeply in debt, have terrible lives, and this is and if they win a whole bunch of money. So they're all kind of, it's giving them an opportunity, I guess, to better their lives.
So it's not like they're just picking up people at random. It's like people who would be incentivized to want to do it.
Yeah. And there's twists and turns that I won't get into. I guess if
you're going to do something like that, you want motivated individuals. You don't want to just pick up like some granny or something like that.
Mm-hmm. And you also there's a part where basically they're given a choice whether they want to continue or not, and they do. So at first they're not given a choice, but then they are, and they keep playing it. But yeah, so this is it's Korean, I believe, but obviously it's dubbed. It's on Netflix.
Yeah.
And then and Squid Game is referring to I think an actual Korean child's game that's kind of like a cross between hopscotch and it's hard to describe, but they explain it. They explain the game. But there's all, they play this. It's kind of interesting to see some of the games that apparently they play in Korea. Yeah. It's like, oh, I've never heard of that one.
See, when I was hearing Squid Game, I'm like, what, did frickin' Splatoon get a TV show or something?
Yeah. It's like, for Americans, it's nonsensical, meaningless. But Squid Game is kind of, it's hard to describe, but it's basically like two people have to like go around this board and try and get past each other. It's kind of complicated. But there's a game that they play with sugar where they mark a shape in a round thing of like they boil sugar and then cool it down, but they mark a shape, and then you're supposed to like cut out the shape without breaking it. So you have to like cut away. It's a circle, but it'll be like a star in there, and you have to try and cut out the star without breaking it. So that's apparently a game that kids in Korea play. I don't know. But yeah, how much money can they win? Well, I looked it up. Yeah, so you have to do a conversion because they talk about it in Korean won or whatever. It ends up being, I think I calculated it was like $40 million, $40 or $45 million they win the equivalent of. Yeah, it's like peanut brittle, exactly. Yeah, but it's interesting, and there's ups and downs. People seem nice, but they end up betraying other people, and and then there's people who aren't who they say they are, and it's intriguing. I watched it through the end. The ending didn't make any sense to me. That was the only problem, because it was very unsatisfying. Because I wanted to be like, what was the point of all this? What was the incentive? Who are these people? And they don't really explain. They sort of do, but it's kind of left a bit ambiguous at the end. So, or maybe they explained it and I didn't get it. Maybe I just didn't understand.
But isn't it as good as Death Race 2000?
I don't know. I've never seen that.
You've never seen Death Race 2000 movie night?
No.
It's an old movie, too. This is a good one. It's basically like Death Race 2000 is like the original Hunger Games, right? Like, the whole point of the Hunger Games is like the Union is falling apart. There's different like regions now, and they do this thing as kind of like a charade. It keeps everybody busy. It keeps them kind of like out of war with each other because they have like people doing this instead, right? So Death Race is kind of the same thing, where it is a circuit that goes across the country, and like different factions have like drivers and stuff doing it, and every time they do this Death Race, it stops them from going to war with each other. Basically, it's just entertaining everyone, keeping the corporations rich. And the whole goal, though, is to not just be the first person to the end, or end to each checkpoint, because you get points for it, but you need to have the most points by the end of the race. And the checkpoints aren't the only thing worth points. Killing people is worth points. So you rack up like 50 points every time you run over somebody. And there's different rates, like nuns are worth more, pregnant women are worth twice as many points as a single person, and stuff like that. It's a funny, great, just like campy movie. Like it's corny, but it's great and brutal.
Cool.
Yeah. Sylvester Stallone's in it too.
Oh, he is.
Yeah.
John apparently stopped watching Squid Game after the Marvel episode. I would encourage him to keep watching, because I can't spoil it, but just trust me. Just keep watching. I know why. I know exactly why he says he stopped watching after that episode. And I'm telling you, watch the rest. Just trust me.
Death Race may be good, but will anything ever be as good as MXE? MXE, that was the comedy redone of Takeshi's Castle, right?
I've never seen it.
Oh, okay. I think Diller was talking about it one time. I didn't know what it was by name, but what he was showing me is like, wait, this is just clips from Takeshi's Castle. And Takeshi's Castle is a good show. That's like the predecessor to things like Ninja Warrior. And it was done by Takeshi, who was a film director in Japan. I think he's still alive, actually. Maybe. He would be pretty old at this point. But a lot of people know him because of Takeshi's Challenge, which was... he says yes it is. And Takeshi's Challenge was this Famicom game that is like notoriously hard to beat because nothing makes sense. JonTron did an episode on it. The same guy who made the show. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I'm seeing MXC, a critically acclaimed comedy series that uses actual footage from Takeshi's Castle.
Yeah.
Which tested contestants' pain threshold.
Yeah, it was like Takeshi's Castle. It's the predecessor of Ninja Warrior, but it's not like the original Ninja Warrior. It's more like the original Wipeout, I guess would be a better way to explain the show.
Interesting. I've probably seen these, and just didn't know what I was watching. But it's MXC is a comedy series?
Yeah, it's an English dubbed commentary on it. So it's kind of like, how the Wipeout guys are doing commentary over people playing Wipeout all the time. It's like that. And they create narratives with the characters and stuff like that. Like it's not true. They don't know anything about the people, but they'll give them like backstories and shit like that.
Yeah. It's kind of reminds me of like that Yu-Gi-Oh dub, or the what was that show that we watched with Rick?
Ghost Stories.
Haunted Ghost Stories.
Yeah.
Those are funny.
Yeah, you're thinking of Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged, I think was the other one, right? Where it's
Yeah.
They shorten Yu-Gi-Oh, but it's all comedy.
Yeah, the abridged series
By Little Karibo.
Little Karibo.
Yeah.
I'm not Tascurley in this episode.
Is MXE better than Ghost Stories? I can't tell you. I only even found out about it because Dillard was talking. I never saw it when it was like on. It was probably on like Spike TV or something like that.
Yeah.
But I have seen like old episodes of Takeshi's Castle. So like after I saw it, I was like, I knew kind of what he was talking about.
So
Yeah.
Whatever happened to our, show nights and movie nights and everything?
I asked you for scheduling for a couple of them, and we never planned them. Like we've got things. I still have like the Legend of Link waiting for us to watch whenever.
Did we ever watch the Legend of Neil?
Yeah, we did. Remember, we were watching it. It was after that really horribly over budgeted, underperformed. We watched like the first half of it, I think, and then we stopped. But it was over in Rick's stuff.
Yeah. The jokes are not repetitive or annoying. We'll have to watch some MXC, I guess.
Yeah. But we just have to plan things. Maybe we'll plan some stuff because it's October. I don't know. Maybe watch some horror things at some point in time, the closer we get to Halloween. Maybe watch some stupid things that aren't horror. I know some, like, really old specials or, like, TV movies that are pretty dumb. Some of them are Disney Channel movies. There's this one that I really liked, and it's corny as fuck, and it's horrible, but it's good to laugh at, called Don't Look Under the Bed, which is about, like, boogeymen and imaginary friends. It's actually pretty great because of how bad it is.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. We'll plan some stuff. But in the meantime, thanks for watching. If you enjoy the show, please share it with somebody else who might like it. And if you really enjoy the show, consider giving a donation to streamlabs.com/Vomitorium Live. It is the first. I forgot to reset the banner. I'll be doing that as soon as I close this. I'll just run over to Streamlabs and hit that up. But it helps with our monthly hosting fees, and it is a new month, so time to start over. And yeah, we'll see you in the next episode.
See you tomorrow.